Hello and welcome to the Cardiac Cats YouTube channel. I'm your host, Jacob Shorba, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of a revisiting of the Trevor Lawrence deal. We finally got official numbers, and after honestly studying this for like an hour, I think I finally understand what this all means. And so I want to explain it because it's a very interesting deal, right? And it's hard to explain or understand because they use a lot of different language in this that's not that common. You get option bonuses. There's a lot of hecticness throughout this. And so the big question has really been, how much of this deal is guaranteed? When is the out? How many more years are we locked in? Because I think that's the big thing for me. Because right now, while I'm very confident that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the franchise quarterback, there's that very small chance maybe you miss out on the deal. Maybe you make a mistake. And if that is the case, I do think we need to know how long this is going to be locked in. But like I said before, because we talked about this when the deal was signed, this is probably going to be the best outcome. And after revisiting this deal, it is better than what I had originally thought. And so I want to explain what I mean by that. So before we get into these cap charges, something that's important to understand is what the deal was before this. Because before the extension, Trevor Lawrence had 2 years remaining. In those 2 years, he was slotted to earn roughly $11 million in 2024 and $26 million in 2025. So this is $37 million that were left on the original deal. That money is effectively fully guaranteed and locked in as the value of Trevor Lawrence throughout those years. The reason why is because it's a rookie deal. So when they're renegotiating, they're not going out there and saying, well, I'm really worth more in year 4, in year 5, so throw that all in the trash and you're going to pay me more. That doesn't happen because there's no room for negotiation because that is locked in. And so what effectively happens is that money is inherited into the contract. So what you get is essentially the rookie deal ends, but it comes into the new deal. So you would have, $275 million for this 5-year extension, right? You also have $37 million from the rookie deal. So if I whip out my calculator really quick and I calculate how much that is, it's $312 million over 7 years. Now, some people are looking at this and saying, well, if I divide that by 7, we didn't pay him $55 million a year. We paid him 44.5. Well, if you say that, the important thing to clarify is that you're then saying that he had a 3-year rookie deal effectively. And that's how you get these cheaper numbers, because your APY, what you're spending per year, goes up now. You can't go out and say, well, he's still on, essentially a rookie deal where he's worth 11 million right now. He's actually worth 44.5 if you do that. So the team is not looking at it like that. The team is looking at it like the value's locked in for these final 2 years of the rookie deal, and past that, this is what you're worth. But the way the cap charges are going to come, they're going to be all over the place. The cash paid out, going to be all over the place. But why I mention so much that this rookie deal is inherited into this new contract is because of the guarantees. That has been the big sticking point with trying to figure out where the out would be in this contract. And if you've been looking at the screen, you can see it down here, but I'll explain why that is. And I don't say this in the sense that we want to be in that situation, right? I want to make that very clear. I'm not saying this in the sense that, I can't wait till we can cut him. I don't feel that way. I think he's going to be the guy. But it's important with the biggest deal in franchise history to understand the ins and the outs, especially when there's a lot of ambiguity and a lot of confusion with it. So these $200 million in total guarantees are for all 7 years of this deal. 2 years inherited from the rookie contract, one of those being the 5th-year option, 5 from the extension. That all makes up the new contract. Why I say this is because given in 2024 and 2025, that he was slated to earn $37 million. When you get into this extension period, right, like year 6, the amount of guaranteed money that you would effectively have left is $163 million. Over 3 years on the extension, he will be earning $165. So what this means is that once you get to 2028, as you can see here, $202 million have been paid out on this deal, and that is effectively enough to be out of the guarantees. The final 2 years, not talking about void years, but just the final 2 years of him actually being on the roster, there are no guarantees. Now, what you will see, and I want to clarify, is that if he was to be cut during this time or traded, or if anything like that happened, God forbid, there would be a cap hit. And so it's important to understand why there is a cap hit. And so effectively, what we're looking at to figure out what that cap hit is how much cash has he been paid out to that point, and how much cap charge do you have? So if you do the math here, so you have 15.03 million for 2024, right? You have 17 for 2025, and then you have 24, you have 35, and you have 47. The cap hits, which are different quite a bit of the time than what has actually been paid out, total up to 138.03 million. You have paid out at that time, however, $202 million. What this leaves you with is 63.97 million that has not gone against the cap that has been paid out. That's why these cap hits get so large at the end of this contract, because they're not only paying him that $55 million a year, but they're making up for all the money pushed down the road. So that's how we get here. Now, to explain the cash breakdown too, and this tells you how much the player is effectively earning, because that's an important part of this, and that's how we get to that $202 million. So let me pull that up really quick. You're going to calculate the totals of all this cash. So you have 39 million plus 37.5 plus 37.5 plus 41.5 plus 46.5. And that takes you to 202 million when you do the math. I've got a calculator pulled up, it's on screen, but I am calculating these numbers. So that's how you get to that, right? So what this means effectively, just to try to explain this in layman's terms, the Jaguars gave Trevor Lawrence a 5-year extension. We know that for sure, right? $275 million. 3 years of that 5-year extension are guaranteed. Now, all the cap hits change throughout this deal because they're adjusting 2024, 2025, those rookie years that are inherited into this. But effectively, the Jaguars have extended their commitment to Trevor Lawrence by a minimum of 3 years, and obviously up to 5 if they decide to keep him through 2029 and 2030. And I would not be shocked if in these seasons they're pushing money down the road, because you got these big base salaries, and you look at the previous years, you just don't have that, right? There's not really a ton of room to restructure. 2027, technically you could, maybe you save like 4 million. You get to 2028, you probably could then, right? Because you're looking at more like maybe 9 million that you're saving, because you're effectively splitting up the charge here over all these remaining seasons on the contract, including the void years. So like we'll take 11 million, for example. If you convert this to a signing bonus, which is what ends up happening, you got to leave roughly 1 million as the base salary, because he's got that as a minimum. You can't go to 0. So that's 10 million over 2 years. So 2 of that goes on the current year. You save 8. So there's a little bit of wiggle room once you get down the road for what they can prorate, but this contract is very set in stone as far as where the money is going to be paid out, what all the cap charges are. There's a lot of option bonuses, which effectively what that's doing is, since they're pushing them down the road, you have less bonus money being attributed to these early cap years than what you do later. So overall, Like, this deal is much better than I originally thought, and so I want to commend them for that. I think that it's done very well. It makes sense why they've done it this way. Do I maybe disagree with the APY? Yes, I mean, I do. But at the same time, you got to sign the deal, and Trevor has all the leverage, because keep in mind, and kind of allude to this in the original reaction, I don't think there's a world where Trent Baalke and Doug Pearson stay on this team if Trevor Lawrence isn't the guy. This is a very clear decision for them. They have to extend him. They have no other choice right now, whether or not he's earned it. And I don't think he's necessarily earned it. I think he would over these next 2 years. But hey, this is their bet. This is most likely going to be the best outcome, as long as nothing goes wrong, right? Which is still technically in the cards. But if nothing goes wrong, this is the best case scenario for the team. And you're going to have some big cap hits down the road, but keep in mind, salary cap's going up a lot. Just talking about numbers that we know of right now, it's roughly 255 this year. It's supposed to go up around 273 and up to 293 by 2026. So you're getting big increases. And by the time this contract goes into effect, the salary cap's almost gone up as much as what the contract's worth. So that's good news for Jacksonville, for sure. But we'll see how this ages, right? Because, like I've said multiple times, there's a little bit of a chance. Maybe you jump the gun. Maybe it's the wrong decision. But hey, if it's the wrong decision, you got bigger problems too. But yeah, it's definitely a different deal than what we've seen. Haven't seen anything like this in Jaguars history. So appreciate you guys watching. I hope that explains everything. And if you have a question, please let me know. I will try to research it and get back to you. More than happy to do that. I love looking at the numbers, and that's one big thing I enjoy and why we do it so much on the channel. We'll also have a general salary cap breakdown for the Jaguars sometime here in the future. I have a document made up with all the APY numbers, what they're getting paid each year. I have to update that. I want to make sure it's current with the team right now. Give you guys an idea of kind of how things are looking long term, because I think a potential future story we're going to see with Jacksonville is that what they're spending every year, or what the average value of players are, all add up over the course of years. If they keep this whole core together, it's going to far exceed what they're being paid by the NFL every year, which is effectively the salary cap, not talking about your rollover, but just what you're being given. So that's going to be a story that we'll get into, but I want to make sure I got my numbers ready and can properly explain that. But thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. And like I said, make sure to ask questions if you have any, or if anything's wrong in this video. But hey, it's a confusing topic and we're trying to make sense of it. And I think this makes good sense of it. So thanks for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And finally, go Jags.